Hello everyone and welcome to this season finale edition of Up Late with Ben Northey. And haven't we come a long way from my lounge room and all of my guests' lounge rooms and kitchens and all that kind of thing? We are here in the foyer of Hamer Hall for this final edition for 2021, and I'd like to pay my respects to the traditional owners of the land that we're on, the Boonwurrung people of the Kulin Nation. Pay my respects, as always, to their elders past, present and emerging. And tonight I'm joined not by one, not by two, but by three musicians from the MSO for this extravaganza, two of whom have been guests on the show before and one first-timer. Abby Edlin, who was on the picture at the front of this show, is a late withdrawal tonight. We wish you all the best, Abby. We'll see you very soon. But I'd like to introduce my guests. Sitting next to me, this is real talk show territory now, isn't it? The couch, the chairs, that's an excessive amount of wine. I'll get to our sponsors in a minute. But yes, I'm delighted to welcome MSO violinist and previous guest on Up Late with Ben Northey, Tiffany Cheng.
Hello.
Big welcome to you, Tiffany. We have percussionist John Arcaro. This is your first time.
It is my first time.
Up Late with Ben Northey. We'll have to fix that
Thank you.
in the coming year. And another wonderful guest on the show, Rowan DeCourt from the cello section of the orchestra. Welcome to all of you here tonight, and thank you for being here. So we also have a very small but enthusiastic live audience over there in the foyer at Hamer Hall. Just keep it under control over there, people. And remember,
they don't have wine.
That's right, not yet. For those of you watching live at home or wherever you may be, you can participate in tonight's discussion by putting any questions you may have for myself or my guests into the chat window on YouTube or Facebook, whatever you're watching on. And yes, as you can see, we do have an endorsement for this show. Big thank you to our supporters of Up Late with Ben Northey, our dear friends at Tarrawarra Estate Wines, for being such wonderful sponsors of this show and for getting me through the last 2 years, pretty much single-handedly, actually. And I thought that's where we might start tonight's discussion. Not on wine, but on just what a year this year has been. I mean, last year was heavy enough, but this year's kind of been more of a roller coaster in many ways, because we started back in January with the orchestra, and we're actually really busy for the first 6 months of the year.
It was so optimistic.
Exactly, and we were all looking forward to this big year ahead. And then, well, not so much in June. So I thought we might just start with some reflections on the year gone by, and perhaps things that got you through the difficult second half of the year, because the lockdown was brutally hard on musicians in particular, and you know, for all of us. So Tiffany, maybe you first. What are your reflections on the year and the things that got you through the lockdown?
Well, I started really exploring a lot of different types of music that I hadn't listened to before. So I really got into, I'm ashamed to say this, not really, heavy metal.
Heavy metal? That's interesting.
And so like, yeah, somehow I discovered, well, for me anyway, like just all these subgenres like thrash metal,
Wow.
like death metal, all that kind of thing, which was very
Tiff.
you know, listening to Mendelssohn and then switching
I did
to...
not see that coming, Tiffany. I have to say.
Right.
But you know, a lot of people talk about the similarities between Baroque music and heavy metal. Like harmonically, they're quite... Well, I've heard that. Do you find that there's any kind of aesthetic kind of similarities between some of the music we play, or...?
There was, what I found was the genuine kind of passion behind it. Like they really were super invested in what they were doing. Like you can hear that come through. And so that was the kind of thing that I latched onto, and that really was a new world for me, because, you know, going from listening to Bach and Mozart to just like screaming.
Blow the cobwebs out. Well, it sort of captured the mood of
Oh, it really did. It really
city.
helped me through the angsty times.
Yeah.
But other than music, shout out to my neighbors who really kept me through lockdown. Like if I was having like a bad week, they'd knock on my door and were like, you know, you're gonna have to come over and watch a movie, have a cocktail, and like just hang out with people again, because I lived on my own. So it was like a really, really hard time.
It's particularly tough. What about you, John?
Yeah.
What got you through?
Well, complete contrast to Tiffany. I lived with my three sons.
Right, so you had your hands
So
full.
it was hands full.
How old are they?
19, 18 and 10.
Okay.
So my main job was probably homeschooling the 10-year-old.
Yes, yeah.
And
yeah.
he's very glad to be back at school, I must say.
Come on, it couldn't have been that bad. But
Look, it was great.
hard work,
So,
isn't it?
yeah, family.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I probably spent a lot of time with a pair of timpani sticks on a cushion.
Yeah,
just
right.
keeping my hands moving.
Yeah, that's the hard thing,
and
isn't
that's,
it?
I think, as a percussionist, that's really hard, not having your
Yeah.
instruments
Yes.
to play.
Yeah.
I mean, I did have my instrument, I just didn't play it.
Well, the thing is, even if
I don't
you
believe
did,
that, too.
but even if you did, I
don't
mean, we can
believe
do individual practice as musicians, but it's not the same as what we do, which is ensemble playing.
Yeah.
No,
It's
exactly.
completely different, especially for loud instruments like the timpani
Yeah.
or, you know,
Yeah.
the
Of
French horn.
course.
Like Nico Fleury was saying,
Yeah.
our
Yeah.
principal horn, he was practicing at the MCG because
Yeah.
he couldn't play out in his flat.
Well, I was
Yeah.
just too sad to play because I wasn't playing with people, and
Yes.
I didn't
Yeah.
want to practice by myself because it just reminded me of how far away from everyone I was. I
Yeah.
just-
And what about animals, John? We've got some pictures
Yeah.
actually that I know
Look.
that we can put up on the screen for people of your beautiful cat with the timpani sticks. I think we've got that shot as well, David McKinnon, who's putting these photos up. And look, on the piano as well.
She practiced every day.
Multi-instrumentalist.
Yeah. look,
Your
so,
cat. What's the
What a
cat's
good
name?
Her name is Layla, and she's
Layla.
a Russian blue.
Yeah.
And she's a real princess. And it was just so calming in the household.
So
to have
beautiful.
A cat just come
And
sit on
Tiffany,
your lap
I think I've got a picture of your cat as well.
Yes, I've got two.
There's the picture of your cat
Yes.
lying down. You've got two cats.
That's the only family photo that I managed to take
That's
over
both of them.
lockdown. Yes, it's both of them and me, and
What are their names?
Charlie and Alfie. So
Charlie
I
and
got
Alfie.
them between the first and the second lockdown, and they've been
Oh,
an
that was a good idea.
absolute godsend. Like,
Yeah.
just having animals around the house that just completely love you, and there's unconditional love, and you can love them back.
Yep.
Like, that was really, really worthwhile to have.
Yeah,
in the
and
house,
Rowan,
yeah.
you have had your hands full. I know you've got quite a big family, right? So tell us about what's been happening in the DeCourt household.
Well, you know, I've got three boys like John, but mine are slightly closer in age. There's 14, 12 and 10. And it's been it's been homeschooling. And, you know, we had that a lovely situation where on any individual day it was like one up, one down, and one doing his work quite nicely. And so we basically had that kind of drama the whole way through.
Yeah,
And,
right.
But I'm a much better kicker at the footy now because we used to sort of take it in turns to go every day to the park to play footy. My oldest son is quite the footy player, and so my drop punt's pretty good, both left and right. I'm much
Impressive.
better on my left foot now, which
Yeah.
didn't start out that way. And he was giving me lessons on how to do it. And then basketball shots. And now my cricket's getting better as well.
Yep.
So all of my boys are doing quite well with the sport, and we practiced every morning. I
Yeah,
make my children do music. So
I was impressed by your social media feed actually, because you would always put up clips that you put together with the family, and you all dressed up as and played the entertainer at some point. Like that was that was impressive.
that was a gangster phase we went through.
Gangster
And then,
phase, yeah.
There was one that I didn't put up where we all did gangster rap.
Yeah, right.
And then the latest one we did was Let It Be, but we didn't use the words Let It Be. We just put the words Set Me Free in. And the boys were dressed up as prisoners. And so we changed all the words around and did it that way.
I like your style, and it's great that you're able to keep busy like that and keep the kids engaged and doing fun things. You know, it's been a really big week for the orchestra, actually a few weeks for the orchestra now, because we've been back to work for a while. We started early, didn't we, being able to play through some repertoire here at Hamer Hall, but also we've actually done some concerts with live audiences. And that's the thing that I realised we missed so much, was the audience reaction to the music. I mean, we'll talk a little bit about the jazz gala that we did on Friday night. 1,700 people for the opening of the Melbourne
very
International
nice.
Jazz Festival. Extraordinary concert. But Tiffany, you've been on tour with the
Yes.
orchestra in regional
Yeah, we
Victoria
went
for the past
regional
couple of weeks.
touring.
Tell us, where did you go and what was that like?
So first we went to Warrnambool, and I must say, like, the second we got out on stage, it was incredible. The warmth, the enthusiasm, the appreciation for just being out and being together and being in the same room with everyone again. That was incredible.
Yeah.
And and so me and a few of the violinists, Taya Kisambiev, Kirsten Kenny, and Freya Franzen, we each played a season each of the Vivaldi's Four Seasons.
Yeah, heavy metal version or traditional version?
Not
Death,
so
death
much.
metal version?
It does get a bit rocky. Yeah, and we also had Fabian Russell conducting the Dvorak Serenade.
Beautiful.
Which was just very lovely. And to just kind of tour with your friends again and to go around to each city and just being in such close proximity with everyone was just so lovely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think we've got a clip from
Oh,
the
no.
Four Seasons. So, David McKinnon, can you roll that clip for us? Some of that music, Tiffany. And, you know, it struck me when you were talking about the regional audiences, they've been starved of music as well,
Yes,
even though
very
they were
much.
perhaps not as locked down as we were for much of that time. They haven't had musicians from Melbourne coming through.
No, it's been
yeah.
a while. So it was so nice to just kind of be in front of them again, and they were so appreciative and so warm.
Yeah.
And like, as soon as we like played, you know, our Welcome to Country, which is what we do before every concert, there was just so much applause from a full room, and that
Wow.
just hearing applause again
know.
was so almost overwhelming. But
Yeah.
we had to do stuff, so we kept it cool.
That's the main, that's the main reason I'm a musician.
Yeah, just for the applause.
And
Changes everything.
It does, doesn't it? And speaking of applause, we heard a lot of it for the gala of the Jazz Festival on Friday night, the opening concert of the Melbourne International Jazz Festival, which was in conjunction with the Vanessa Perica Big Band. We've got this wonderful relationship with Vanessa Perica, this outstanding Australian jazz composer, arranger, absolutely world class. And her career's just about to take off overseas as well. Cavalcade of Singers hosted by Eddie Perfect. It was an incredible night. And actually, I thought that might be a good starting point for at least part of our discussion tonight, because I've got loads of stuff to do, trivia questions and all kinds of silly games and all kinds of things looking ahead to next year. But, you know, the MSO is a very collaborative orchestra, aren't we? And I guess a lot of orchestras now, we perform a wide range of concerts of various musical styles, which fall outside the traditional orchestral format, such as the one that we performed on Friday. So, you know, we've got our film and orchestra concerts, we've got cultural collaborations. We recorded one of those last week with Sangam, the Indian classical music group that we worked with, pop artists, comedians. We've done it all really at the MSO. Orchestras are not conservative institutions anymore. That's all changed. If people looked at what the orchestras have been doing and how much they've changed in the last 10, 20 years, I mean, it's unrecognisable from what we were doing back then. So perhaps, Tiffany, from the player's perspective, what's it like to be involved in a concert, say, such as the one we performed on Friday night?
Oh, it was incredible. So I was lucky enough to be seated next to the guitarist, well, the rhythm section.
Yeah.
And I was sitting next to Theo, the guitarist, and just kind of looking at how he played and how he kind of organized everything and played. And it was kind of incredible. Like, for one of the last pieces, Rebrahmanization. That's really hard to say.
It is.
Like, he had, like, all of his, like, he had a huge solo throughout
That's right,
that piece, and so all he had was just the chords written bar by bar.
Yeah.
And for me, I was like, oh my god, how do you even read
Just
that?
an improviser.
Yeah, and so it just goes around, and like it's just a complete different world. And when I watched him play, I could learn so much about just being more free, being more open to just noises and sounds.
Responding.
That you can, yeah, listening to everyone and responding to whatever someone was doing next to me. And that's a really valuable thing to have.
Rowan, you had a good seat. You were right up the front of the cellos leading the section. What was it like from your perspective there in the front row?
Well, it's fantastic. I found one of the interesting things was a lot of those singers had never actually sung with an orchestra before, and they were completely blown away by the idea that there was 100 people on the stage behind them. Like, they're jazz singers mostly.
Yeah.
So they got the 3 or 4 piece combos behind them. And I remember a couple of them walked on stage and just went, oh my God, and you could see their hands shaking, and I was just like, oh my God, this is so exciting for us. And,
I know.
You know, being the first time they've ever done that. And then, you know, by the time they finished their songs, they just sort of, it usually took them about a verse to get in, and then suddenly they were just like, oh, this is awesome. And then they just went wild. And like, you know, I love being part of that moment when that sort of freedom just takes over.
Isn't that one of the great things an orchestra can give? Because the orchestra is such a musical high watermark that when people get the chance to perform with an orchestra, it's a big deal if they're not used to performing with an orchestra all the time.
Even when I did the 4 Seasons, I freaked out so much.
Well, I mean, it was so true though with those singers. Many of them would never have stood in front of an orchestra, and it's quite intimidating, but we're such a friendly bunch. I think we made them feel at home. And
Ben, I had a very good seat. I was in the audience.
Oh yeah,
I was really lucky. I didn't get to play, unfortunately. But
no percussion in that show.
No percussion on timpani. So I thought, well, I'm going to go along because I want to be part of the excitement of it. And the feeling in the crowd was just one of sheer joy.
It was a joyous evening.
Actually.
Yeah,
So,
it was very special. Everyone left with a massive smile on their face. And after 90 minutes of music, that's not an easy thing to pull off.
It was great.
But yeah, I mean, these collaborative concerts are really part of our MSO DNA, aren't they? What are some of the other more special ones that come to mind? I mean, it all started in 80, whatever it was, with Elton John, and there's been many more, but there's some that really stick in your mind.
Yeah, for me, Sting was
Wow.
actually incredible. That was 2011.
Oh, that would have been incredible.
And it was the quality of the arranging
Yeah.
was extraordinary.
Yeah.
And I think each chart was arranged by a different person, so you had a lot of variety
Yes.
in there as well.
Yeah.
And then perhaps one of the other ones was the Kiss Symphony.
Yeah, that's right. Everyone
Which
put the
was
makeup
a
on and
long
everything.
time ago. Yeah,
so
once you
much
had an
fun.
orchestra in the
Yep.
Kiss face paint, they were teenagers.
Yes.
And it was like
Wilma
being at a-
Smith looked exactly like a member of the
Oh,
band,
yeah. Well, she like
basically.
Mrs. Jean Simmons.
Mrs. Jean Simmons.
Yeah. It was incredible. And it was like the orchestra just became a bunch of kids, and it was like a dress-up party.
Isn't that great?
It was great. It was a
Yeah.
lot of fun. And all the pyros and people flying over the orchestra.
We've been lucky, haven't we? We've just been lucky to
Yes.
work with so many of these
Oh,
different
definitely.
artists and
My
things.
neighbour keeps talking about when we did Beethoven 9 with
Circa.
Circa.
Yeah, that was full on.
That was
was a big
incredible.
show.
Like, I still
Yeah.
remember that performance, and
Yeah,
just
well, you
seeing
know,
the people doing it. Like,
yeah, and I had people messaging me kind of, not many, but some, outraged that we were doing that. Because
Well, that
they
was-
were like, this isn't, what are you doing? This isn't a
No.
ballet. How dare you? It's, you know, and it's sacred
and that was
ground.
my first Beethoven 9, to be honest. But it was
Yeah, right.
a great experience to have. Like, who gets to have a first Beethoven 9 where there's like people doing
I know. Yeah. Well,
trapeze
that was the
hops
thing I
over
was
you.
trying to explain to the people who are concerned about this, that the responses we had from audience members, some of them were saying that was a life-changing experience for them.
Oh, definitely.
The addition of the extra layer of this physical theatre that was going on amplified the power of the music. So everyone's going to have a different perspective on that, but that's part of our job, is to try these things, try and break new ground. That's been a great discussion. And you know, I found this book, The Melbourne Symphony Orchestra. I found this in a second-hand bookshop in Melbourne. It was written in 1987, and it's basically a history of the orchestra up to 1987. And even then, there's a chapter in this where it's kind of part of, I think, an annual report where they're asking questions about the mission of the orchestra. And one of the questions is, how can, or even should, a symphony orchestra reflect the pop culture of recent years? There are ways of fusing the two. Are there ways of fusing the two without alienating the audience for either or both? Isn't that fascinating? They were asking that question back in 1987. So what do you think? Are there? I mean, I think we've answered that question.
I think we
now.
have.
Well, I mean, clearly those people didn't listen to the Nick Cave, Warren Ellis concert, because that absolutely went off. That was one of the highlights for me. Was just playing with people like that and just going, they can really hold a crowd by themselves.
Yeah.
And then they move so seamlessly into playing with an orchestra and just watching, Warren Ellis with his violin that was tuned out, and it was perfectly tuned out.
Yeah.
And it was like, the rest of us are sitting there going, oh, but it was just so right. And,
Yes.
and,
The rawness of that.
tell
sound.
someone in 1987 that you would really enjoy listening to a violin being played that out of tune right next to you, made of metal.
Yes.
And, you realise that actually it's a completely different world.
Well,
now
this is, I think, what I'm saying when we talk about orchestras as are they progressive, are they conservative? I mean, they're really groundbreaking organisations now. Sure, we have our regular concerts in the concert hall, which we honour the tradition of the repertoire and the canon of orchestral music. But we do so much more than that in so many different areas.
Well, you have to. We're musicians.
Exactly.
We have to make
pushing
music.
the boundaries, keeping it alive.
Yeah.
Have a quick squeeze through some of that, because I do want to just step through a quick potted history. I don't want to get into too much academia here, but the book is fascinating and I learned so much. When was the first ever performance of The Messiah in Melbourne, do you think? The Melbourne Philharmonic Society did this. They'll know the answer. It was in 1853. And the conductor was Charles Edward Horsley. And I've conducted his violin concerto with Sophie Rowell in years gone by. Dame Nellie Melba was probably one of our first big stars. She left Australia in 1886. Her father, David Mitchell, was the builder of the Royal Exhibition buildings. Did you know that?
Wow.
That book, it's just full of these gold nuggets. And in 1888, during the boom times, the Melbourne Centennial International Exhibition rolled into town. And a British conductor called Sir Frederick Cowan came out from the UK with 15 musicians of his own to bolster the local forces here. They put together an orchestra of 73 people named the Victorian Orchestra, and with a combined choir of several hundred, gave daily concerts, 263 in all.
263 days of choir.
With orchestra.
Oh, okay.
So, and for which he was paid £5,000, which in today's money is around $1 million. This is how rich Melbourne was back in those days.
Yes, please, I do that.
Doesn't happen anymore for conductors so much. But this was the era of marvellous Melbourne, and it was awash with wealth back then because of the gold rush, and far wealthier than London. That orchestra ceased to exist afterwards, but the seeds of the teaching and the practice of music were sown in Melbourne, and the University of Melbourne was established and had a great music program. And then there was a big land bust in 1893 and everything kind of fell away, but music was still there. A survey was taken in 1888. What was the most popular orchestral work in Melbourne in 1888? What do you think it might have been? I'll give you a hint.
I say Beethoven 5.
Oh, you're so close!
Sorry, Beethoven 6.
Beethoven 6. 1888, Beethoven 6.
You know, ABC did one about 15 years ago, and it was also Beethoven 6.
Yeah. I mean,
So it hasn't changed?
some works just, they stand the test of time, don't they? So Alberto Zellman formed the MSO in 1906, which we know. We've had our centenary, an amateur group who played for the love of music. That's our roots as the MSO. His father was also a conductor and had been the choral assistant to Frederick Cowan, that mad guy who paid $1 million and ran out of town for those spectacular concerts in 1888. In 1929, who was the philanthropist who rescued the MSO from its post-depression debts and enabled Bernard Heinz to combine the MSO and the University Symphony Orchestra? Who was the philanthropist? Anyone in the audience?
Maya?
Sydney Meyer.
Of course he was.
The great Sydney Meyer, who has bequested the City of Melbourne one of its greatest gifts, the free concerts at the Sydney Meyer Music Bowl, and of course
But they're the highlights
building
of a lot of Melburnians now.
They are. It's one of the things that makes this city so great.
Oh, of course.
And so by that stage we had a serious professional orchestra owned by the university and ended up being administered by the ABC. Here's a bit of trivia you won't know. I love this. This book, seriously. In 1923, Berta Jorgensen became the first female leader of a professional orchestra in Australia. And she went on to play with the orchestra for 50 years and became the longest serving female leader of an orchestra on an international scale.
Wow.
Amazing.
Isn't that unbelievable? So
50 years.
This is kind of where we started as this progressive
Wow.
institution. What do you think the percentages of men and women in the orchestra are now? I mean, it's
I'd say
It's
it's
about
roughly
50-50 actually.
50-50.
pretty close.
Yeah.
It's been pretty much 50-50 for a long time.
It has.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I think so too.
We're pretty good.
The first young people's concerts. When were they conducted by Bernard Hines at the Melbourne Town Hall? Any ideas?
In the 50s?
No, 30s.
Oh, wow.
1936 was the first of those concerts. It's incredible, isn't it, how far it goes back?
Wow.
And then the name changed to the Victorian Symphony Orchestra for a while. And post-Hines, because Hines finished up in 1949, we've had a long list of international conductors since then, and each have made their own contribution to the development of the orchestra. The name was changed back to the MSO in 1965. Charles Moses, who was running the ABC, he persuaded the Premier Henry Bolte that you needed a city branding on the orchestra, and that's why we're called the MSO now. And in 1974, Maestro Iwaki gets the job, and he'd been the chief conductor of the Tokyo NHK Orchestra, and we had this wonderful 13 golden years, amazing leading international artists, and we've had since then Marcus Stenz, Oli Catani, Sir Andrew Davis, and from 2022, Jaime Martin. So
Yes.
very exciting. So what changes have you observed in your time with the MSO? Because I know you've sort of been, how long have you been in the orchestra, Ron? About 20 years?
No, about 10.
I remember we had
It
this
took me ages to
discussion, I
get
should
in.
remember.
That was my problem.
A lot of
my first gig
auditioning,
in the
I remember.
late 90s
Yeah.
with the MSO. But,
Well, how have things, repertoire-wise and sort of performance-wise changed?
I kind of think it's been pretty much the same. I remember when I joined, we did a lot of Shostakovich early.
Yep.
And we haven't done a Shostakovich symphony for the last 5 years at least.
Yes.
I remember, interestingly, the hall has changed because we went out for 3 years in the middle while they renovated, and it sounds different.
Yeah, right.
And that I find interesting. The fact that the MSO sound, and I remember that was the thing that drew me to the MSO. Straight away was the sound of the
Sound of the
strings and everything.
orchestra.
And now it's a much brighter hall. That sound is slowly changing a bit to match the hall.
Yeah, it's amazing the effect
Yeah.
the hall has on the orchestra, isn't it?
Yeah.
John, what do you love to play in the orchestra? What repertoire do you really particularly enjoy?
Percussion heavy stuff.
Yeah,
Obviously.
I mean, all our new things, and these
Yeah.
collaborations that you mentioned usually
Yeah.
have a lot of percussion in them.
Yeah.
Bartok,
Yes.
Stravinsky,
Yeah.
Mahler, Strauss, Shostakovich,
Yeah.
all wrote really well.
I love that repertoire.
And we recently did that recording of the new Nigel Westlake score for a feature film that's coming out soon.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Yeah, do you remember that?
Yeah, that was
Yep.
great.
It's not that long ago. But
Yeah.
anyway, but that was, we can't mention the name maybe, but Nigel's score was
Yeah,
amazing.
magic.
I love Nigel's
Yeah.
writing. He
Yeah,
writes really well.
been
for
lucky to
percussion.
work with a lot of those composers. They're very
Yeah.
percussion heavy, aren't they?
Yeah.
Tiffany, you love new music, don't
I
you?
do.
So yeah, I feel like we've got a good balance of new and traditional works at the moment.
I think we've got a good balance. I mean, I'd love to do more, but that's just my personal taste.
Well, everyone's got a different kind of take on that, but I think audiences love being taken on an intellectual adventure as well as something familiar as well.
When we
so.
did the Angel of Light.
Yeah, the Rautavaara.
Yeah, Rautavaara. That was incredible.
Yeah, no, I had somebody come up to me at the jazz festival afterwards
Yeah.
and say, I never knew that piece before, and I listen to it all the time, and I'm really transported every time I hear it. Isn't that amazing? So
Yeah.
we just introduced someone to that
Yeah, it's
piece.
incredible.
I want to talk about next year because we're looking ahead to the
Yes.
optimism of 2022. It's going to be a great year, everybody, especially compared to this year. So, James, would you be able to hand me? I thought we'd do this in the form of a kind of a musical challenge, musical game. It's the Wimbledon Trophy. Here, I mean, this could take a while, but actually, if you look in there, I don't know if you can get a shot of that. There's like about 5 pieces of paper. So this is the only vessel we could find. This has some of the best known works from next season in it on individual pieces of paper. And I would invite you, if you're happy to, maybe I'll do the first one, to sing a theme from the piece of music and see if you can guess what it is. Okay, I'm going to do the first one. Please let
got more to
it be
drink
easy.
before that
Yeah, yeah.
I'm going to drink some more.
Okay. Da da di la da da di da di da da di la da da di da di.
I'm just getting Ben to keep singing here.
Come on, put me out of my misery. Anyone?
Keep going.
From Chike 6.
Chike 6, you're okay. Keep score, please, over there in the audience. Trevor Jones, you can keep score.
I figured the longer you have to sing, the less I have to sing.
Rowan, you're next. Choose wisely.
Oh, dear.
Choose wisely. This is really good online
God.
content, isn't it?
Actually, Tiff will know this one. Da 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 da.
Da, 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 da,
Yes, you got it.
Oh, my goodness.
I sang the beginning of it, the second violin part, and Tiff went on with the solo part. There you go.
The Mendelssohn's
violin
concerto.
There we go. John O'Carroll, you have
Oh dear, here we go.
Come on, let's make it a
Righto,
percussion
let's see
heavy
what
one,
happens.
because you don't play in some of these. So
Oh
it could
dear,
be
I think I
awkward.
need some help with this one.
Okay.
Wait, it's in G major.
Tiffany does have perfect pitch.
Yeah, sorry. No.
Dum dum dum.
Stop it.
Straight away with the check folk.
Yes.
We're in Dvorak.
Dvorak Symphony
Dvorak.
number 8. Okay, Tiffany, your turn.
Okay.
Good luck.
Oh wait, I don't know this one. I haven't played it before.
Is this one of the hard ones?
Da 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 da. Ya da 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 da. If you're feeling a bit seasick now, you'll know why. Because Mendelssohn did when he wrote that, the Hebrides
The
Overture.
Hebrides
He went
Overture.
on a boat ride from hell, apparently.
That's right. Well,
to get out to
it's-
these islands, and then he got there and he was like, right. And you mean I have to get the boat back?
Very, very stormy. John, I've got one for you. mate.
Okay.
Don't show anyone.
Okay. Oh, easy. Ba-ba-ba-bum.
I mean, who doesn't know
The most
that?
famous
Okay.
4 notes in music.
Wonderful.
Okay, in one word. Freude.
Well, that has to be, you know,
Beethoven.
Beethoven 9.
Beethoven 9. Okay, another one. Let me see. What have I got? Ooh, oh, John. Like another one for you.
Oh wow. Okay.
You could do a rhythm.
Do you want me to do the timpani part?
Yes, the timpani
Yeah.
part. This would be impossible.
Okay, here we go. Boom, 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 boom.
Ja, ja, ja.
Oh, there we go, Rite of Spring.
Rite of Spring.
Last page of Rite of Spring.
The
Yeah.
sacrificial dance.
I thought you were going to sing
Of
the
the Rite
bassoon
of
solo at the
Spring.
start.
Da-da-da-da-da.
Okay.
Bassoonist nightmare.
This one I will give you part of the slow movement because it reminds me of another piece. Bom, bom, di, o, do.
That's
That just sounds
Bernstein.
like
That's Bernstein. Originally Beethoven from his
Beethoven
Emperor
Number 5.
Concerto.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
Bernstein is quoting
Yeah.
that piece.
Wow.
I mean, we could go on and on here, couldn't we?
Could.
There's some good music coming
What
up.
about-
Let's put it that way.
There's a lot. Bom, 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 bom,
That's
bom.
Sibelius 5.
Sibelius.
Yeah.
Sibelius 5. Look, we could go on forever, couldn't we?
Yeah.
Let's just put the Wimbledon trophy down here.
Yeah.
I don't know who won, but
All of your
believe me.
travel dreams come true. You can get to travel everywhere in the world. Just hit it.
Which ones are you looking forward to? Have you had a chance to kind of think about it for next year?
Yeah,
Some
I
that go-
have.
What have
I'm
you got?
looking forward to the 3 Stravinsky ballets.
Yeah.
Oh, that is going to be
In
so
one night.
nuts.
I
think that's gonna be-
It'll
So,
be so
the Rite of
exhausting.
Spring, the Firebird, and
It's the
Petrushka.
collaboration with Annam, and that's always exciting.
That is pretty
Yeah.
exciting.
Oh, it's going to be amazing.
Yeah.
Because, like, just Stravinsky in general, like, when you play it, you're just, like, back to your
Yeah.
teenage years.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
It's something that we all studied at
Yeah.
school, I guess, as young
And
musicians.
like Stravinsky, the Rite of Spring, for example, the way that you learn how to play that, you just kind of have to like really live it into your blood so you don't play at the wrong beat because it's so stressful the whole time. So you,
Yeah.
the way that you learn it is that you just have to know it so well that you won't make a mistake.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
You know, I've got, well, we should find out some more highlights. Rowan, have you got
Well,
one?
I'm particularly looking forward to Sheku Kenna Mason coming
Yeah.
because
Oh, very nice.
I fell in love with this guy's playing on Meghan and Harry's wedding.
Yeah.
That was the highlight for me.
That was beautiful.
And, you know, the cellist in the middle. You
Yeah.
know, every wedding needs a cellist in the middle. Just call for bookings. And
Especially over summer, during the season break. Yeah.
no, but he's playing Shostakovich's second cello concerto, so
Yeah.
a very little heard, unknown one, and it's a beautiful piece of music, very dark, but I think he'll do an amazing job with it, and I really can't wait to hear him actually live.
Yeah, well, we've just got so many great artists coming out, and of course, Heine's concerts
especially
will be good.
our musicians from within. So
Yes.
we've got
Soloists.
Jack Schiller
That's right,
playing,
a bassoonist,
finally playing Matt Lang's,
Yep.
who's a violist who is a good friend, but Matt Lang's concerto for bassoon and orchestra, and Michael Pisani on corn blake is doing Anne Corsa's concerto.
Yes.
And
Sophie Rao.
Yes,
Sophie.
Sophie.
Yeah,
Bach
Sophie
and
with
Beamish.
finally again.
Yeah.
These are concerts that have
And,
been rescheduled many, many times
Yeah.
with the Bach and Beamish with
James Crabb.
James Crabb.
Yes.
James Crabb.
That's
There's a
right.
brand new harp concerto too.
Yeah.
Oh,
you
yeah,
know
with
what?
Junior.
With
Yeah, that'd be
Melody
great.
Oetbusch.
And
that's right.
Rachel's doing Rachel Tobin.
Rachel Tobin.
Rachel
sorry,
Tobin,
yeah.
so yeah, she's doing a cello concerto. I can't remember who's playing it, but
Yeah, well, you can find out all of this on the MSO brochure.
yes,
And,
but I'm so proud of
right
her.
there, or on the MSO website, mso.com.au, and you can just knock yourself out with a huge subscription, buy it for your whole family if you like. Gifts and for Christmas, perfect Christmas gift. I've got some more trivia here, and we do have to go to the questions from the audience at some point because people have sent in some fantastic questions.
Oh, great.
I mean, honestly, there's some really lovely things. I'll get to those in a minute. In addition to Ludwig van Beethoven, which composer also wrote a pastoral symphony? A. Vaughan Williams, B. William Walton, or C. Franz Schubert?
Vaughan Williams did.
Vaughan Williams. His third symphony is a pastoral symphony about the First World War. It's absolutely devastating. Very beautiful. So, offstage trumpet and a soprano at the back of the room and all this kind of thing. Which of the following artists used to perform with Luciano Pavarotti during his lifetime? A. Celine Dion, B. Madonna, or C. Lady Gaga?
It's Celine Dion for sure.
Rowan, how do you know all of this?
Well, you know.
I wanted to go Gaga just because of that
Yeah.
image.
Yeah, that would be impressive. Or Madonna,
That would be
I mean, that's
amazing.
also
Yeah.
quite good.
Pavarotti. I just can't imagine what he'd be wearing.
It was indeed Celine Dion. Okay, Tiffany. Which prolific composer wrote more than 1,100 musical works, had 20 children, 3 of whom were also musicians? A. Johann Sebastian Bach, B. Johann Strauss, or C. Richard Wagner?
Bach.
Yep, you're right. Correct. Oh, here's one, Rowan, for your burgeoning wedding career. The Pucklebell Canon is the most, because get used to that, mate, now that you've put the ad up for the weddings. The Pucklebell Canon is the most popular work by the German composer Johann Pucklebell. It was originally written in which key? A. A major, B. C major, C. D major.
I don't care.
Whatever they pay you to play, yeah, you'll be there. It was actually D major.
Well, it doesn't change then.
It's weird, isn't it?
Who's the key it's in?
Okay. What did you say?
Isn't
Well, it doesn't
in D
change.
major?
Yeah,
It's in D.
Yeah, everyone
D
plays
major.
it in D.
Pucklebell's canon in D.
Yeah. Well, you could play it in any key. I guess people get bored and they probably go through the whole cycle of fifths.
I actually have done it once where I decided to upset the violinist because and started on E flat.
Different.
Ooh,
Yeah, so,
that's
yeah.
nasty.
It didn't go down well.
No. Well, there's those great
the
old
last
stories of orchestras playing tricks on their conductors where they'll play at the beginning of Egmont Overture instead of an F, they'll play an F sharp, you know, and it got embarrassing, I think, in the Berlin Philharmonic. They did that and the conductor didn't notice and just kept going and they all had to transpose up a semitone for way too long. It all just fell apart and it was a humiliating experience for the conductor. And then Karajan was, he came onto the podium for the next week or whatever, or the next time they played Egmont, they did the same thing and he just stopped straight away and went, I am Karajan. That sounds
brilliant.
That's like you with perfect pitch. You'd be like that. I can imagine. I am.
It's a
I am
curse.
Cheng. Okay, Igor Stravinsky arrested. True or false?
True.
Yes. Do you know what for?
Oh, we learnt this at the Ears Wide Open
Oh,
last week.
Nick Faulkner, you've stolen
Yeah,
my
Nick.
thunder.
Oh, yeah, he stole it. Something about being a hobo.
Copyright. No, it was copyright, I think.
Yeah.
Didn't he use
I
some
thought he
music?
was homeless
that,
and he got,
Oh,
like,
I-
he got.
I think you're talking about a different composer.
Oh, okay.
Actually, he became the subject of a hotly disputed classical music myth where he inserted a controversial dominant seventh chord at a crucial point in a performance of the American national anthem.
Oh, yes, and it was banned, wasn't it?
The police
Great.
supposedly warned him
Yeah, that's right.
that a $100 fine would be applicable and then arrested him.
Wow.
How bad can it be?
Oh my God.
Okay,
I want to
who
be
else?
arrested.
Was it a
for-
seventh in the bass?
I don't know.
Yeah.
Must have been highly controversial.
I know,
Probably
yeah.
major seventh. We've had a few of those in the last week. Johann Sebastian Bach, jailed by his boss. True or false?
I've heard this is true, actually.
He did spend a short time in prison.
I
Oh,
think
did he?
It was
Yeah.
over a pay dispute in, was it Leipzig, I think?
Yes,
And then
it was. It was.
He
Well,
demanded
he
he
wanted
should
to
be paid
leave.
more.
He wanted to leave his employer, and they couldn't come to terms. But he did rattle off a book of keyboard exercises while in the clanger,
As you do.
and
The
as you do.
Yeah. Well, at least he was productive.
Yeah.
Franz Schubert arrested for opprobrious language. True or false? John O'Carroll,
I'll
what do
say
you think?
yes.
Well, these are all true. Just to give you a heads up.
I was
Yes,
It's
he
the
gonna
was.
say-
saucy business, the music
That's-
business.
Well, Schubert, I'm surprised that's all he was arrested
me
for, to be honest. Along with 4 friends arrested by a suspicious Viennese police force who were on the lookout for any boisterous gatherings of young people.
Yeah.
Apparently, Schubert's gang was exactly that. He
Oh,
was
that just sounds
reprimanded.
like a great time.
I know. He was reprimanded for his use of insulting language to
It's
the
still
police.
like that in Vienna. Yeah.
And I think this is what you're talking about, Beethoven, a drunken, disorderly tramp.
Yes.
Yeah.
See, I thought, yeah.
No, he obviously, well,
Yeah,
he
they just
sounded
thought he
quite
was a
eccentric. That's right, they did. The police, he was reportedly somewhat worse for wear, had become lost and hungry and was gazing into people's windows. This later in his life. It's just a normal night out. No. He was promptly arrested by a policeman who mistook him for a tramp and threw him in jail.
Oh, dear.
Okay, I'm going to get to some of these wonderful
Yeah.
questions from our listeners, and thank you so much for all of these. Comment, Up Late with Ben Northey is one of the best things about lockdown. Isn't that beautiful? Thank you. I've really enjoyed this show, I have to say. And
Me
this
too.
is kind of, feels like the end of the cycle in many ways. We may do some more next year, but it was
I hope
really
we do
invented for lockdown as a way to get to know the musicians of the orchestra and a way for us to continue our connection with you. So thank you so much for that comment, for watching. Okay, if you could collaborate with any artist or art form, who or what would it be? That's very interesting, isn't it? I mean, we've worked with nearly everybody, but is there someone...
Okay, I want someone either to do a giant canvas behind us.
Yeah, like an improvised
Yeah, like
canvas.
an improvised painting
During
while
the
we're playing.
concert. Yeah.
Or we do like a video game kind of thing, and someone plays a video game while we're like we play Mario Kart
We actually
while
did
they
Can
play
I
Mario
play
Kart.
Mario Kart? Can I be the guy playing?
Either one. Wait, we've done
Yeah,
that.
we have done that. It was a world
have?
championship gaming
Really?
expo
Oh, no, we did
in
too.
Melbourne. I think it was
Yeah.
at the exhibition
Can we do it
centre,
again?
and it
You
was
got that
live.
MSO Brains Trust onto
Yeah.
it? Thank you.
Yeah,
No,
yeah,
I
it
want to
was
play.
amazing.
Can
That's a
I
great
just-
idea.
Can I not play the violin and actually play?
At the same time.
No, I can't do both.
Does Rowan have a specially tailored cello to match his height? Stand up for us, Rowan. Go on.
He just has a
I'm
very
kidding.
long spike.
Well, actually, my cello's 300 years old, so no is the quick answer to that. There are cellos that are slightly bigger. David Berlin actually plays a cello that is based on a Montagnana cello, which in the time when Stradivarius was making, he made this sort of the golden standard of what is considered a cello.
Yes.
And Montagnana at the same time made a slightly wider one because the cello is actually like an adaptation of a bass viol. So that's how it came into being. Stradivarius apparently found the exact proportions that worked, and Montagnana was making a slightly bigger version. And David plays one of that. Yo-Yo Ma plays a Montagnana. Truls Merck plays a Montagnana. They're stunning cellos.
Wow.
And that's the model David has. So his is much
Yep.
bigger than mine. But no, I just,
So there's no
play
like,
a normal sized cello.
there's no cello stores that are like, those special suit stores for big guys. They
I know
don't
that
exist.
store all too well. High and mighty. That's
John
the-
Arcaro, if the orchestra should do something differently in the future, what would it be? That's an interesting
Something
question.
differently.
Well, I guess let's
Wow.
narrow it down to
Wow.
presentation of concerts.
You know what? I'd actually love to see audience members sitting on stage amongst the orchestra.
Yeah, that
Like
would be amazing.
an immersive experience.
Yes, yeah, because a lot of there's more. A
Yeah,
lot of
where you
of
You could actually see what it feels like to sit in the percussion section or in the first violins
Well, that's
or
it.
the
We've,
second
we've got the
violins.
choir stalls, but we don't have a
Right.
wraparound
Yeah,
venue
no,
like a lot
Yeah,
of venues.
I
Yeah.
have done well, not concerts, but like gigs where certain members who were donating to us back when I was at ANAM, they would sit amongst us. So I would be deskies with
yeah.
patrons.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
And
so
they
cool.
would sit like amongst the
Yeah.
desks, and that I think was very rewarding for them because they could
Yeah.
hear things that they'd never heard before, like
Yeah.
of pieces that they knew. Like say, if we do better than 5, you would hear
Yeah.
things if you sat like where I sit, or if you
course.
sit where Rowan sits.
Yeah, it's
you
a
hear
different
completely
perspective.
different
Yeah.
things. And
Yeah.
I think that would
We
be
could
really
get them to do
fun.
the page turns on the iPad pedal.
I love the idea of using technology in concerts, and I love because we've got so much extraordinary technology with media now. We're doing our MSO Live, MSO.live. Check that out as well. Amazing amount of content for it's a really low monthly subscription. I'm such a spruiker, but it's true. It's really good. On the internet are all of these concerts where, say, if a piano soloist is out the front, they'll have a camera that's just over the piano facing down, and they put the keyboard up on the on the back of the
Yeah.
wall behind the orchestra, and you can see the fingers of the pianist. That kind of thing. I just think it brings people into the experience of
Yeah.
the performance.
Especially
as well.
seeing what individual members do to like be part of that
Yeah.
collaborative performance, because we are, I mean, the great thing about being an orchestra is that you're all part of a whole and you've got different parts. So,
It's like the,
Yeah.
it's like the Big
see-
Brother house.
so seeing what everyone
happening in this
does
room?
and seeing what
Yeah.
everyone does differently and how everyone listens differently and
Yeah.
responds differently.
Yeah.
Like, I remember a friend came to a concert and he was watching Rite of Spring and he noticed how the percussion were playing slightly earlier than
Yes.
what was, and he'd never been to a concert before. And I was explaining to him that that was the just the difference in sound and light.
How an
The
orchestra
distance.
works.
Yeah.
You have
Yeah.
to sit up if you're up the back, and that's
Exactly.
the miracle of an orchestra is the fact that we're so spread out, and we have to compensate for that distance with sound production.
But if an audience member sat up there, for example, or up the front
Yeah.
next to Sophie,
yeah. No, there's lots of amazing things we can do. What's the best thing about Jaime Martin's conducting?
he's brilliant. Sorry, he's. I love playing with him because it's like dancing with him.
He's so passionate and exuberant,
it's so
isn't he?
lovely.
Yeah.
Yeah, like you really feel
That's a
that
good
he's.
answer.
Yeah, you're just making music
Yeah,
with
he's
him.
a great musician.
He is a superb musician.
And he's played in orchestras for so long,
Yes.
he gets what
He
it is to
understands.
be inside the orchestra,
Yeah,
I think.
yeah. Oh, I think it's going to be a great year. Very charismatic figure as well for our audience. To all panelists, a question from YouTube. What direction do you think music will evolve in over the next 5 years, which may surprise audiences? Well, we've already got the video game idea. What other things might happen? What about the tales? Do you think that could evolve, or it's a bit of a very controversial?
It's
Bit controversial,
controversial.
yeah.
So
New York Philharmonic has dropped them.
a lot of orchestras
Yeah.
are dropping
Yeah,
tales.
and they're coming out all in black.
Yes, it's more contemporary. I think it's because of perhaps what the tales represent rather than what they look like, because they do look kind of cool.
Yeah.
But it's just, is it an anachronism in a modern world?
Well, I think if you want to wear tails, you should wear tails, and if you don't want to, then don't.
Free.
I actually think the whole orchestra should wear them.
Fancy
Men and
dress.
women should wear tails together.
Oh, I would love to wear
I think
tails.
it would look phenomenal, actually.
Yeah.
I just think it would be great.
Okay, another question from the audience. Tiffany Cheng, best piece of repertoire for the violin, go. First thing. You're watching Up Late with Ben
Sorry,
Northey.
I did it just right.
It had to happen in the last episode. Congratulations, Tiffany. What is the best? We can edit that out. It's, we're live. Doesn't matter. What is the best piece of repertoire for the violin?
I've gone blank.
Go.
now.
That's
E
okay.
flat. Yeah.
Oh god, I've gone blank. I'm gonna say the thing that brought me to really playing seriously was the Szymanowski Second Violin Concerto.
There you go. Good answer, John O'Caro.
For violin, Johann
No,
Sebastian Bach.
for percussion or timpani.
Oh, look, it's a hard one. The Elliott Carter 8 solos for solo timpani.
Okay.
That's outstanding.
I do not know those, I confess.
Get into them.
What about planets? You like planets too, don't you?
Oh, well, the orchestral repertoire, yeah, the Planets is great.
Yeah, right.
And what else is really good? Mahler.
Mahler.
For timpani is great.
Okay.
Oh, Mahler's
Yeah.
great for everyone.
Rowan, best piece of repertoire for the cello. It doesn't have to be orchestral. It could be anything.
Yeah, I mean, you know, what kind of a cellist would I be if I didn't say it was the Sarabande from the Sixth Suite?
Oh, okay.
By Bach.
That's very
A
beautiful.
very nice answer.
Okay, I have got some more trivia questions, but this is more of a who am I question, and it's members of the orchestra,
Oh,
many of
brilliant.
whom have been guests on Up Late with Ben Northey. So, who am I? I play the violin and support the Carlton Football Club.
Matty Tompkins.
Matthew Tompkins,
There's only one.
our principal second violin.
Yeah,
Hello,
he's a
Matty.
passionate Carlton supporter, so
That's all. I'm just seeing how little information I can give and still get the answer. I am a brilliant violist and also a formidable thermomix expert.
Tiger.
Tiger.
Fiona's
Do you know her real name?
Fiona's
From Ballarat, great Ballarat family. Fiona's parents, I want to say Marg and Peter, I think that's right. They set up an early learning music program when I lived in Ballarat when I was a
Really?
kid, and that was the
Amazing.
first musical
Oh,
thing
wow.
that I did.
Wow.
And they set that up. It was all the Carl Orff method. It was just amazing.
Oh, cute.
But yeah, she's a formidable exponent of the Thermomix.
Yes,
Are
check
you-
out her Facebook page.
Yes, it's entertaining. You might find me playing in the concert hall or the jazz club.
Ben
Benny.
Hanlon.
Ben Hanlon, our principal bass, Ben Hanlon, plays
Yeah.
both jazz and
He's
classical
a
music equally
phenomenal
well.
Oh, yes,
Actually-
and do check out his launch of...
Last night.
Last
he
night,
launched
yeah.
his second
Night.
CD
Second
Oh,
CD.
okay.
with James.
Yes.
James Sherlock.
That's right.
Yeah,
And,
that was all Stravinsky.
Stravinsky.
Right of
Yes,
Spring,
Stravinsky.
jazz
And-
version.
incredible.
Yeah,
It's gone
arrangements.
ballistic, yeah.
That's right. That was
Petrushka.
picked up by the
Yeah.
composer of The Simpsons, who I can't
Yeah,
remember.
yeah. Matt Groening, yeah.
Matt
Matt
Groening,
Groening.
yeah.
That's right. And he said that was one of the best things that's ever happened to him. That Matt
Yeah.
Groening
Yeah.
bought his CD.
Yeah, yeah.
There is
Unbelievable stuff. It's
there
just
is a
phenomenal.
YouTube clip online about me called Carmina Buzzbina.
Wow.
John Arcaro.
Wow.
Any ideas?
Eleanor.
No.
Is that Tim Busby?
Carmina Buzzbina.
That's Tim Busby, isn't it?
Tim Busby!
Oh my God, that has to
Our
be Tim
tuba
Busby.
player Tim Busby, a volcano of the tuba.
He's a character.
Yes, he is indeed. Carmina
Funny story
Buzzbina.
about Tim,
I'll
you know,
check
because
that
Tim's
out.
American. I mean,
He's from Texas. He's not
from
American,
Texas,
he's from
yeah, yeah.
Texas.
Dad's a butcher. And the first
Yeah.
thing that happened when he came to Australia was someone in his kids' class invited him to a barbecue, and he turned up and he goes, "That's not how you do a barbecue." He insisted on getting a huge smoker and inviting everyone down to do like a proper Texas-style smoked up barbecue.
I love it.
That
Oh,
he
that
went for
sounds
24
incredible.
hours on, and it's like, yeah, that's Tim for you.
We are a recently married couple and about to have a baby daughter.
Freya and Saul.
Freya and Saul. Big hello to you guys if you're watching. Also members of the Melbourne Ensemble and guests on this show. I am a level 1 yoga instructor.
Andrew McLeod.
Andrew McLeod. And that was a memorable episode last week as well. Andrew took us through what I call ultimate nostril breathing. Turns out to be alternate nostril breathing, but they're missing a marketing opportunity there. I retired this year after 44 years of service to the
Oh my
MSO.
God, is that Jeff
Oh,
Crellin?
is that
Cindy
Jeff?
Watkin.
No,
Jeff?
Jeff Crowley.
Jeff Crellin?
Jeff Crellin. Retired after
Oh, he's
44
probably
years of
here on a
service.
bunch of the pages before 1987.
Wow.
You know, I've got some pictures actually from that book. Let me show you. David McKinnon. We'll dial up the first one of these. Who is that?
No, that's not
Prudence
Prue.
Davis.
Is that Prue?
Check out the
Of course it
vest.
is. Look
Prue
at that.
Davis.
That's
Oh,
fantastic.
Back in the day, Prue Davis.
probably
Let's move to the next
17
one.
or 18.
Who is that?
Hugh Jones.
James.
Hugh Jones, our
Harpist.
long-time principal harp before Julie Rains.
Before Julie Rains, yeah.
It's Marshall Maguire next.
Yeah, Marshall Maguire next to him,
Yeah.
a young Marshall
Yeah, very
Maguire.
young Marshall.
Hugh Jones, you know, he was in his later life played with amateur orchestras and the Stonington Symphony Orchestra.
Yeah.
And I was conducting Sibelius II with them.
Yeah.
Have you dropped your microphone, Tiffany?
I did.
Do you need to?
Oh.
Do you need some
Yeah.
help? We'll
the
see.
little fuzzy thing fell off.
That's okay. Do you want to go and just find a technical person to assist you? Good luck, and we'll see you. We'll see. I'll yell out if you get lost. We're over here.
Yeah.
he told me this amazing thing. We were conducting Sibelius 2, and I was trying to explain. I was a young conductor and trying to appear much more clever than I actually am. And I was trying to explain the sound I wanted from the strings. I was like, it's not like Tchaikovsky. It's a bit different. It's more, clear. There's a word for it, I'm sure. And he was sitting up the back and he goes, I know what it is. Clap. Because he's got that Scottish. It was so funny.
Yeah.
I mean, we all fell about
conductors have
laughing.
to go through that stage.
What about this? Who's that? About picture number 3,
Oh,
David.
Jeffrey Crellin.
Jeff
That's
Crellin.
Jeff Crellin.
Presenting in that photo, the first ever, I want to say Bernard Heinz Award.
Oh,
I think that's what it
That'd
was.
be right.
Anyway, I digress.
Wow.
But yes, Jeffrey Crellin, 44 years of service to the orchestra,
Wow.
just absolutely extraordinary. Tiffany, make your way back. Welcome back. Welcome back. I am the former principal flute of the London Philharmonic Orchestra and the Chamber Orchestra of Europe.
Jaime Martin.
Jaime Martin. I am a formidable violinist and I have a podcast called Splitting Hairs.
Oh, that's
Sarah.
Sarah Kuro, big hello to Sarah.
Hi,
She's
Sarah.
been on this show before as well. I am the co-artistic director of the Port Fairy Spring Music Festival.
Monica
Moxie.
Curran.
Monica Kuro, powerhouse, Australian musical royalty from
Famous.
Brisbane, I mean. I am a flautist and the former assistant to Pierre Boulez.
Sophie Galais.
Sophie Galais,
Yeah.
yes. I performed as soloist for the Margaret Sutherland Violin Concerto this year.
Sophie.
Sophie Rowell,
Wow.
another Sophie. I'm a mad keen cyclist and percussionist.
That's
Johnny.
Cycling.
I didn't know
Yeah,
that.
I played trumpet in the Macau Symphony Orchestra before joining the Melbourne Symphony Orchestra.
Rosie?
Rosie Turner, and she's been on this show as well. So I know all of this
You know
stuff.
everything.
Yeah.
Okay, this one is a one-word question, if you like, or hint.
Yeah.
Negroni.
Oh, sorry.
Davis.
I'm the first violin of the Australian String Quartet.
That's
Dale.
Our concertmaster Dale Baltrop. I
I
have.
thought you
me-
wanted me to tell the Negroni story after that one.
Oh, okay.
Sir Andrew mixing Negronis behind the bar.
He was on the Chinese tour.
on the Chinese tour, and he decided the bar service was just a little bit slow, so he went behind the bar.
He took over.
and started getting all the bottles and mixing them all together and handing them out.
The maestro at
That's the
work.
conductor.
Taking control.
Okay, here's another one before we divulge too many tour secrets. I've been guilty of that in the past. I have many different chooks.
That's
That's
Fiona
Tiger
Sargent.
again.
Tiger. Oh, Chris Moore had
Chris.
him there.
Chris Moore. Well,
Yeah.
No, he doesn't
only
have
because
them
he's been on the
anymore.
show. I didn't know Tiger had chooks
yes,
also.
definitely.
Yeah, there you go.
I think she's the original.
Yeah, she's the original.
You know,
She's
chook
the
whisperer.
original. So
Yeah.
Chris is just following her.
Yeah,
in her
that's
footsteps.
right. Following it.
You may find me knitting at the cricket.
Oh, there
that's
we go.
Chelsea.
Chataway because he loves his cricket.
Chats.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Stitch, as I call him, he doesn't like it.
Yeah.
Stitches.
My exo sauce is the best.
Roger.
Roger.
Young.
Roger Young, hello Roger. That was
Hi,
a great
Roger.
show. My kitchen's still
hi, Roger.
filthy after that. Just can't get the stains out. It's just a
Oh, yeah.
disaster. I think I said on the night it's like an episode of Squid Game after that cooking show. At my audition, I thought Leonard Dommett was the janitor. I think it was the janitor. Might have been the orchestral assistant or something.
That's
That
going
has
back.
to be Eleanor.
Eleanor Mancini. She thought the
Oh my
concertmaster Leonard Dommett was like the stagehand or something, and I was
she's so
asking him
elegant,
things
you
about the
would
bit.
you know.
Fetch me a stand.
He was responsible for her getting the job.
Okay.
I won my first orchestral jobs with the MSO and the SSO at the same time.
Freya.
Well, maybe
Oh.
that's true. That was
Yeah.
one. There's another one.
Is that Prue?
It's Prue. Principal
Oh,
flute
wow.
jobs with both orchestras at
Yeah,
the same
that's
time.
good.
I'm a Tour de France tragic. Who's that?
Tragic.
Lauren, yep, viola section.
Brinton.
Trevor, you'd know.
Oh, yeah.
I am the bassoonist in the Melbourne ensemble.
Jack Schiller.
Jack
Schiller.
Schiller. Wonderful Jack, wonderful player as well. We touched on this before. During lockdown, I practiced at the MCG.
Nico Fleury.
Nico Fleury. I host the MSO Ears Wide Open series. Who's that?
That's Nick.
Nick Bachner.
Yep, wonderful. Nick, that was a great show the other night too, by
Oh,
the way. That was
great.
fun. I studied with Channing Roberts at the Juilliard School in New York, and I'm a cellist.
Was that David?
It's David. David did study.
I thought
Was he
was
at
with Leonard
Juilliard?
Rose.
No, he studied.
Oh, okay.
Studied with Channing Roberts.
There you go.
Which MSO cellist also used to play the trombone?
Oh, that's Michelle Wood.
Michelle Wood.
yeah.
That's right. We're running so short on time,
Yeah.
but I'm nearly out of questions. I won a major competition playing the Elgar Violin Concerto.
Oh, that's Anne-Marie.
Anne-Marie Johnson. You're so good at this. She's a member of our first violin section. I conducted that. Hardest thing I've ever done in my life.
Yeah.
No conductor ever wants to see the words accompanied cadenza. That's a graveyard. I saw the graves of other conductors in the score. This is impossible. This is good. My musical influences are, this is a violinist. My musical influences are Sinatra, Nat King Cole, Billie Holiday, Ella Fitzgerald, Luciano Pavarotti and Itzhak Perlman. And in addition to the violin, I also play the piano very well and love cricket.
Oh, that's
Andy Hall.
Andy Hall.
Yeah.
Andy Hall. It's been great to see Andy back at work. He's a total legend of the orchestra.
Yeah.
You might find me riding my motorbike to work across the Westgate Bridge.
That's
Oh,
Peter.
Pete.
Peter Edwards.
Yeah.
I started my professional career with the Russian State Symphony Orchestra.
Mark Mogilevsky.
Mogilevsky.
It's actually not
Eleanor.
Mark.
Isia?
Issy Wasserman.
No.
Wasserman?
It's one of the new members of the orchestra,
Taia.
Tair.
Oh, wow.
That was his first big gig, the Russian State Symphony Orchestra.
Wow.
I play an oboe named Nadia. Do you know that?
Is that Anne?
I'm presuming she still does. This was a bit out of date, to be
Anne?
honest, this
Anne
information.
Blackburn?
Is it
Anne
Anne?
Blackburn. You might know her as El Presidente. Okay, we're out of time because we're running an hour. Things that we're looking forward to between now and the end of the year. And I'll just run through a couple of the things. We've got The Messiah, performances conducted by Graham Abbott, in at Hamer Hall with a wonderful cast. What else do we have? We have...
Skyfall.
yeah,
coming
the
up.
concert
James
at the
Bond.
Maya Music Bowl coming up. We have...
Classical hits.
Classical hits at the Bowl, which is some of the concerts that we've missed. And
Richard
we've
Lee's
also got
playing at that
Skyfall,
one,
the James
isn't
Bond
he?
film, and then the performance of a lifetime, which is just this.
Yeah.
I mean, you thought the Jazz Festival was a big show. This is insane. It's just the longest
just
list of
everyone
Melbourne
together.
artists. Just everyone. Basically,
Everyone
they're
together.
all going to be
We're
performing.
back.
Yeah, it's Melbourne saying we're back in a big way. What are your hopes? We have to wrap it up, but what are your hopes for 2022? And this was one of the questions that came in from
What are my hopes?
our orchestra. You know, with all the difficulties this year, what are your hopes for next year, Rowan?
Well, in a couple of words, it's just basically that people feel music again, because it's one of the things you know, you can watch it online, you can watch recordings, you can watch anything, you can listen to the tape deck, but actually hearing sound come from a musical instrument into your ears is just makes you feel something different. And I'm just waiting for people to just wake up and go, actually, that's what I've missed, is actually hearing someone do it live in front of me and actually doing it as well as they can. That's what we do.
Beautiful. John?
No more lockdowns.
No more lockdowns. We're here.
That's simple.
Yeah.
Yeah, just continuous week after week of music making.
I think we've done our share.
Yeah.
Tiffany, what are your hopes for next year?
Similar to Ro, to be honest. Just being in the same room as everyone, making music together, big or small, you know, whether it's like a big symphony orchestra or like little bits of chamber music, like just being there with the audience and feeling that atmosphere again. That's something really special that you can't get online. So
That's true. There is nothing like a live concert. All of the people who have been to our concerts in the last few weeks have come away feeling inspired, uplifted, filled with joy, and with a spring in their step and with a great sense of optimism for the future. And so that can be you too, if you haven't already. Have a look at some of the concerts that you'd like to come back, dip your toe back into live music again. It's all perfectly safe in these venues. They're beautifully run. We can't wait to welcome you back. Thank you to all of you who have supported the Melbourne Symphony Orchestra in 2021, one of the toughest years in our history, and off the back of an also incredibly tough year in 2020 as well. We just are so grateful for your connection with the orchestra and the fact that you've stuck with us. We can't wait to repay that by giving you some magical performances in 2022 and between now and the end of the year as well. A big thank you to the production staff of Up Late with Ben Northey. You would not believe how much gear is in here in the foyer. It's just incredible. A lot more than in my lounge room on a normal broadcast. The MSO media team, all of you have just done a wonderful job. Liam Hennebury, Jen Lang, David McKinnon, particularly you, all through the year. And I'm very, very grateful for all of the work that you've put in to bring this show to people week after week. So thank you so much. Music, as we've been talking about tonight, is a force for good in the world. I believe that really strongly. So let's continue to nurture it here in Melbourne, one of the greatest musical cities that you'll ever come across in your life. A huge thank you to our dear friends at Tarawara as well. for your support of this show.
Yeah,
it's
this
made
is
it's
empty.
made a huge difference. Well, to tonight in particular, but to all of our shows, it's been a wonderful comfort to us, knowing that you're supporting this show as well. We can't wait to get out to the Yarra Valley and visit your beautiful vineyard out there. In the meantime, everybody, thank you so much for watching. Thank you for your questions. Keep looking after each other and go well.